Hi everyone, I'm here with your 513 lesson. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. 513 lesson, how can I calculate it without drawing? Calculating parts of parts. In the past 2 lessons, you have been describing and finding parts of parts by using diagrams to represent multiplication. Today, you will find strategies for multiplying fractions without needing to draw a diagram. As you work with your team, use the following questions to help focus your discussion. How can we visualize it? How many parts should there be? What is the portion of a whole? So we're going to flip over to 519 and start there. 519 says, how can you figure out the size of a part without having to draw a diagram? Work with your team or your class to explore this question as you consider the example 2/3 times 4/5. Part A, describe how you could draw a diagram to make this calculation. Part B, if you completed the diagram, how many parts would there be in all? How do you know? Part C, how many of the parts would be counted for the numerator as your result? Again, describe how you know. And part D, how can you know what the numerator and denominator of a product will be without having to draw or envision a diagram each time? Discuss this with your team and be prepared to explain your ideas to the class. So go ahead and pause the video and answer question 519 now. Okay, if you're back with me, you've answered question 519. We are going to save 519 to discuss in class because it's going to be a good discussion question and it's going to be good for you to go over with me in class. The one thing that I do want to point out, though, is D. Hopefully, you have noticed that when we have something, fractions multiplying by each other, 2/3 times 4/5. Hopefully, the pattern that you've picked up on with drawing diagrams is the other way that you could do it is you could just multiply across. So we could multiply our numerators, 2 times 4, to get our numerator, which would be 8. And then we could multiply our denominators, 3 times 5, which would be 15. So our answer here would be 8/15. So we're going to do a little bit of practice with that. Question 520. Work with your team to find each of the following parts of parts without drawing a diagram. For each problem, explain clearly why your answer makes sense. So we're going to do the first one together. We have 2/3 of, which means multiply, 2/7. So without drawing a diagram, we need to solve this. So we're just going to multiply across. 2 times 2 is, 4, and 3 times 7 is 21. So your answer would be 4/21. Box your answer. For each problem, explain clearly why your answer makes sense. So now I would like you to explain this, why this makes sense. When you're done explaining, you are going to answer B and C. Be careful with C because it is a fraction, or it is a decimal. You want to change that decimal into a fraction before you begin to solve. That is all I have. We're going to save B and C to discuss in class along with problem 519. So if you have any questions, please email me.